Well, hello there.
Hello?
So today I'm going to talk about mission creep.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You said chasing waterfalls, now you're saying you don't want no scrubs.
I don't even understand the reference.
It's like a tick.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Remember, this thing gets messy. We never talked.
You can trust us.
Real quiet. You gotta creep. Creep.
Come on. You don't say creep creep unless you're quoting TLC.
This conversation kind of spun off from the video I did a couple weeks ago about the LPVOs suck now apparently. I had a couple of background conversations with Tasker Network Actual. We kind of talked about this. He brought up, hey, I watched your video and you kind of touched on it, but you didn't really drill this point. I think it'd be something good for you to cover. And I decided to cover it. And we had a lot of good discussions. And this is the byproduct of those discussions. He also helped put some of my ideas into a much more concise format, which is good. So we're gonna jump into that. His Instagram is in the description for those that wanna check it out. He's got a lot of good content on there. What is mission creep? Mission creep's a motherfucker. Mission creep is trying in vain to do absolutely everything well. Whether it's a physical mission or my rifle's gonna do everything. I'm gonna put everything on my rifle so I can do everything well. And it often sets you up for failure. You're not gonna be able to do anything because your rifle's too heavy or you're over encumbered. You're in a landlocked state buying scuba gear that you're never gonna use, or riot gear. I don't know why people buy riot gear, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that people buy that don't make sense. It's either inspired from video games or somebody's thought process on something, or a myriad of other reasons, being brand new and just listening to everything that everyone's saying, or some random ass YouTuber said, hey, it'd be cool if you put all this stuff on there and you can do everything. That's not how it works.
One more thing. Do me a favor. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Was that accidental or were you trying to quote TLC on purpose?
I don't even understand the reference.
You don't understand what you said?
I don't know what that is. Get out.
And the end state becomes you end up with something that's completely useless. And before the comments come in of, well, you wouldn't stand in front of it and get shot, you couldn't bring it up to shoot me with it, so I won't. Anyways. Fucking 18-pound rifle and shit. Or you put too much gear on, or you're carrying so much stuff with you that you're now over encumbered, making you slow, bulky, and exhausted all the time. You can't go anywhere without your 72-hour backpack with your rain layer, your survival gear, your SBR, 120 rounds of ammo for your rifle, 6 more pistol magazines, and all this other stuff to go to Walmart, right? I'm not saying those things don't have a place, but again, mission creep, trying to do everything at once.
Ain't too proud to beg.
Come on!
What?
It's not funny anymore.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not trying to be
TLC references.
Still, nothing. I swear to you.
Which ultimately makes you a loot drop for a whole squad when they divide your gear up, when you get snapped up. And I can hear everyone saying, nuh-uh, Ghost Recon Wildlands, I had a sniper, I had a rifle, I had a full backpack, and a pistol. Yeah, okay, bud. This isn't a video game, this is real life. I mean, hey, suit up, go for a run. Put all that shit on and go for a run. See what happens. Just do a couple of laps around your house. Tell me how it played out for you.
Alright, fuck you, buddy!
So we're gonna cover what it looks like and how to avoid it. So what it looks like for your rifle. It's those guys out there trying to make the SBR, SPR, Recce, GPR. The 12.5 with an Atlas bipod, a suppressor, a laser illuminator, a white light, pressure switches, a 4-16 with a top mounted and side mounted red dots so they have a backup to the backup. And then ultimately you take a 12.5, which would be good for maybe a GPR, maybe, or an SBR or something like that. And you've turned it into a clunky, heavy, unwieldy, useless mess. Is it still a firearm? Absolutely. Are you clearing a building with that? Nope. Are you going to do long-range precision engagements with it? No. Are you going to be able to do general purpose stuff with it? No. Can you even hold it up? Is the question. And I know what this is born of, right? It's taking a 400 to 500 yard shot with a 10.5 equipped with a red dot is miserable. Or clearing a room with an SPR is miserable. So they try to have a setup that meets in the middle. And in a lot of ways, that's what a GPR is. A GPR is a jack of all trades and a master of none. But they have it in their head that they can beat the system. They have this life hack that's going to give them equipment that's going to be able to master everything. I'm going to be able to do everything with this Wolf 55 grain steel case ammo.
Know your fucking place, trash.
It just becomes this clown show of, I'm going to throw everything on this rifle and I'm going to use it. And they don't go to classes with it. They don't train with it. They don't go to a shoot house with it. They don't do anything. They pick it up, they play around with it, and then they put it away. Or they take it to the range and bench shoot with it and say, yeah, it's great. And then that's it. And I'm not talking about the guys on YouTube that are like, hey, I'm going to try to take this 14.5 out to 1,000 yards. Of course, they're going to put a bipod on it in bigger glass, all right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about the people that have it set up like that always. And that's their, I'm going to do it rifle. This is my go-to rifle. It's 17 pounds. It's better just to figure out what you're trying to do first. I want a general purpose rifle, or I want an SBR, or I want a marksman's rifle, or something like that. A hunting rifle even. And the type of hunting matters too. Like, are you going elk hunting? You hunting mountain lions? You hunting hogs?
Run.
There's a lot of factors. So try to figure out what you're doing ahead of time and have a couple setups to do that. There are guys out there, myself included, that can take a GPR and do close quarter combat stuff with it, clear buildings, do all that stuff, and then take it out to 500 yards, right? But I don't have an illusion that I'm going to be making hyper precise Mark 12 shots with my 14.5 at 500 yards. I don't have the glass for it, and it's just not the rifle that's going to do it. It's a fighting rifle. It's a general purpose rifle. Same thing goes for CCW. A lot of guys out there do mission creep with CCW. They try to multitask, which multitasking is not a real thing. It's like those guys that are like, give 110%. You don't have 110%. You're not something that can overclock, you know? Like, you're not, I don't know. But the things that we've allowed to be commonplace in our society bother me, but that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day, I guess. But the same guys that'll sit there and tell you, well, I don't need an LPVO as a civilian, I just need a red dot on my rifle because I'm not taking a shot outside of 50 yards. If I take a shot outside of 50 yards, I'm going to jail. Are the same guys that have a backpack with an SBR in it, a bunch of ammo, and their concealed carry rig is a pistol with a rifle mag or something else like that that's ridiculous. And they're carrying around this 40-pound backpack full of shit they're never going to use. And they've completely exposed themselves to everybody because they're running around, clunking around with this big-ass backpack, and they're making a spectacle of themselves. Or they're bringing stuff with them that doesn't make sense. Or the scenario that they would go do that is something they saw in mile 22. And that's the motivation behind their entire thought process. It's not, let me have my concealed carry rig with a pistol that may or may not have a light on it, a pocket light, and a spare magazine with a backpack full of medical supplies. That is something that you can do multiple things with, cover multiple bases like rendering aid and defending yourself, where it doesn't really take away from anything. And your medical backpack isn't making a bunch of fucking noise. Doesn't sound like there's a shitload of metal objects in there that are probably a gun.
Hey, fuck you, buddy!
And that's mission creep once again. It's, well, I'm gonna go kinetic and I'm gonna throw my body armor on, I'm gonna do all this stuff. And it doesn't get anything done. You're not getting anything done. You're tired before you even start. You got a bunch of bullshit in a backpack you're not gonna pull out. You're not a police sniper that's covert at an NFL game, and you have to walk your shit up to the balcony, pull it out, get set up, all that stuff. You don't have to do that, right? So do things that make sense. And mission creep can distract you from what's important, and then you become a liability versus being more effective at multiple things, which can be summed up by overcomplication of simple things, which is what I should have just said right there anyway. And there's also the people that you most see that are susceptible to this are newer guys that don't know anything. They're just trying to get started, or they go to all their buddies and they all have different opinions or whatever, which is fine. And they start trying to do all those things. They want to say, well, I want to be able to make a shot at 700 yards and have a bipod and be stable, but also do this, this, and this. So I'm going to do all these things. And it's not how it works. And it's not necessarily their fault because they don't know what they don't know. So they're trying to get all this information or do X, Y, and Z in a very quick amount of time, instead of, which I've done, I know other people have done too. I'm not immune to these things. I'm often talking from a position of experience of stupid shit that I've done. I'm not better than anyone. It is a rabbit hole that you can fall down very easily, instead of saying, what am I trying to do? What is realistic for me to try to do? And then building something that supports that to help you win. Giving you tools that complement your experience, complement your skill set, complement your ability to go to a class and learn certain things that you're trying to learn to be effective, as well as being efficient with what you're spending it on, and not tying yourself up with all these side projects that don't matter in this particular moment because you don't have your bases covered. Now, the other type are the poors, or people that make poor financial decisions or buy a bunch of cheap gear, and they end up putting a bunch of dog shit because it's inexpensive, or they don't know any better, or they don't have any training, or whatever it is, but they end up putting your NC Star red dot with the Amazon 4-16 and this mount and that and this and all that stuff, and they spend what could have been spent on one quality item, they spend on 6 not quality items that are all going to break, they're all going to fail, and you can't tell them nothing. And then you go take them to the range, and guess what? It happens at the flat range on the bench. Bench shooting, the glass comes out of the red dot. The turrets won't move the reticle. The bipod loses a leg. And that's a symptom of mission creep, because I want to do this, 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 and this. When realistically you can do a couple of things well enough to get by, or you can do things specifically very well, but you can't do everything very well, and people don't realize that until they try to do it.
The trick is to undercook the onions. Everybody is going to get to know each other in the pot. I'm serious about this stuff. I'm up the night before, pressing garlic and dicing whole tomatoes.
Which is why in the military they have different units for different things, or your squad setup is different. I have a machine gunner, I have a designated marksman, I've got assaulters, I've got, so on and so forth based on the unit, whatever. But you might be looking at your squad like, I want to be able to do the most I can possibly do. I got a medic, I got a guy that's a good mechanic, I got a guy that's good with computers, and then there's me, the guy that's good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I can rip a man's head off with my bare hands. Cool. That's where mission creep falls in the most, is when you have a small group of people, or you're by yourself, and you're, again, trying in vain to cover everything. You don't want to get caught with your pants down, or you don't want to be in a situation you can't get out of. I understand that drive and desire, but it's not realistic, unfortunately. This isn't a movie, this isn't a video game. You don't have unlimited reloads. When you walk over a magazine, you don't automatically pick it up into your ammo reserves, right? You physically have to do everything, and everything is 25 times harder than you think it is.
Fuck.
Just because you can bench rest shoot, you can develop your fundamentals, you can do all this stuff, but it doesn't mean you can take that and immediately go do stalking sniper missions and shoot somebody at 1200. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about training, it's all about learning, being the student, and not getting sucked down this, I need to be able to do everything well. So how do you avoid it then, you snobby asshole? I hear you say. My best suggestion is figure out what you have to do, what you have to be prepared for, what you want to do that is most likely to happen to you, all right? Whether that's hunting or being a Minuteman or a concerned citizen or home defense or whatever it is, what do you have to do? Concealed carry, bam, get a good concealed carry piece, get a good holster, a light, spare mag carrier, a few extra mags, you're off to the races, right? Or I live in an area where I can take a shot 300 to 400 yards or meters. I need a rifle that can do that. Hey, this GPR is going to work, so let me pursue that. Sit down and think, what are you actually going to run into? What do you want to be prepared for? What do you want to cover? Then make a list or a build or however you want to do it, whatever your process is, set out to do that and relentlessly pursue that specifically. And there may be times where you buy a quality item and it just isn't for you. You bought something that's nice, or you had a build in mind and you're going on like an elk hunt, right? And you have a super light rifle and you have to take a nice steady shot and you can't because it's too light. So you make a super heavy rifle, but it's too heavy. There's too much glass. Every time I try to take a shot, my movements are hyper amplified. So you find a happy medium, or you find something that does work for you. That's not mission creep. That's not getting sucked down a rabbit hole. That's developing a process to select the gear, to find things that work for you that help you win in whatever you're trying to do. So I don't want people to feel like they're wrong for, hey, I'm gonna try this out. It doesn't work for me. Let me do this. Oh, this does work for me. Great. Or, you know, you go through a process, you go through 5 different optics until you find the one you like. Whatever it is, that's okay. But trying to do everything in one rifle is very unrealistic, and it's gonna set you up for failure. And after you cover your bases, for me, it's home defense, self-defense, national defense. Some of you might laugh at that, whatever, I don't give a fuck. You do you, I'm gonna do me. But it's having a concealed carry gun that I can rely on, and a good holster and a good belt with a spare mag and an off weapon light, as well as a weapons mounted light. Done. That also works for home defense. Super awesome. Then for national defense, or you know, we get invaded or whatever fantasy scenario you want to cover for, I have a fighting rifle. My fighting rifle is set up to do certain things. I favor LPVOs with a general purpose rifle mindset. That's me. I also like SPRs or precision guns, but I'm not a sniper. So that's how I look at things. So figure out what that stuff is, then cover your bases and relentlessly pursue that. Also, be patient and disciplined while assembling that stuff, while getting that stuff together, because there's going to be times where it's out of stock, and that's when people get distracted. And you can look through my videos. I had an RC2 for my URGI before I had the optic on it, because I was doing all these side projects. I've been a victim of this. Mission creep's a real thing, and getting sucked down rabbit holes is a real thing. So I'm not immune from it. It took me sitting down going, wait a second, I don't need all this shit. Or this is distracting me from doing what I actually want to do. I need to buy nods. I need to buy a helmet, you know, so on and so forth. I need more force multipliers, not more things in my house. So don't get sidetracked by bullshit. Stay disciplined, be patient. Sometimes the optic's in stock, but the mount isn't. Pick up the optic. It's, you know, or the mount for the light's in stock, but not the light. Pick up the mount, you know, so on and so forth.
You're not my supervisor!
And things can change. Just adjust your flow. Tack swap is a thing. You'll be okay. Also, don't take recommendations from people with zero experience in what you're trying to do. There's a lot of people on the internet that are paid to push shit, and there's people that, with good production quality or whatever, can mislead people into thinking that they know what they're doing. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Take, you know, anyone that doesn't have experience in that particular thing you're trying to do, take everything they say with a grain of salt. Find a good training source and somebody who's credentialed, who's done the things that you're looking to do, because they're going to have those little tidbits that you didn't think of, and these internet people that with no experience don't think of. It was a James Yeager video talking about going through a forest, and somebody who's done a lot of forest patrols is like, hey, you're going at night, make sure you have some eyewear because you'll get poked in the face with branches. Pretty sage advice, right? Pursue people that know what they're talking about or have experience in those realms or whatever, and get that information from those qualified sources. It will save you a lot, and it'll give you a lot of quality information that prevents you from mission creep. A good example is that Jim's Goonlight video where he's showing that dude's class. I could see people's hearts sink. In the background, there's a dude with like a 2.2 mount, right? Or a 193 or something. And he's like, hey, for our purposes, for an SPR or precision AR platform, we're looking for a 154 mount because we're gonna be shooting a lot in the prone, we're gonna be doing this, this, and this. We will be standing, and he gave a whole list of reasons and about different ranges, how the mounts offset what you can hit and what you can't hit and all this other stuff. He gave a lot of intelligent reasoning because he's experienced, he's done this stuff before, and he's training people. So without that knowledge, you're gonna make that mistake, right? And he said, hey, don't use this, don't use this. I watched that video too. I took the LMT stock off my Ballistic Advantage build and I'm getting a SLS stock, one of these, because of what he said. It was a small piece that I was missing, but he said, hey, if you use a bag, where the SOT mod is, you can put pressure on it and unlock the SOT mod while you're shooting. Bad day. Holy shit, that saved me so much. And if it doesn't make sense, don't use it. There's gonna be a lot of people, just like I was saying, with like a 193 or a 2.2, if that shit doesn't work for you and a 170 or a 154 works, run that. It doesn't matter. They're not running your shit. And there's dudes that are like 8 feet tall that need a 193 or a 2.2 to be a normal human being. So they're gonna look at me like, hey asshole, the 2.2 works for me because my head is huge. My neck, I have a giraffe neck. I need this, right? So my experience doesn't necessarily translate to them. So me saying, hey, 170 works for most people, it may be the truth, but it doesn't work for that guy. Again, just don't try to do too much. It's everybody's first instinct, whether it's generated from or a bad place, is to make sure you have absolutely everything covered. They don't have fire extinguishers in their kitchen or a medical kit in their vehicle, but God damn it, they're gonna be able to hold off an invasion no matter what distance it is. Just stop doing that, all right? Be realistic, select the stuff that's gonna work for you, have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself. I will never be a sniper. There is no amount of sniper school that I can go to that is gonna overcome my failure with math, all right? The best you can do is teach me how to be a designated marksman and correct for wind a little bit. I am not smart enough to be a sniper. I'm not smart enough to be EOD either. It is what it is, right? But I can do other things well, so that's what I'm gonna focus on. But in closing, very few things can sink you faster than mission creep. It's a great way to take yourself out of the game before it even starts. Wasting time and money on shit that will fail you, or over encumbering yourself with gear or your rifle with a bunch of shit that's not gonna help you do anything you're trying to do, is not the way to go.
Fuck.
And it will fail you when you need it most. So be able to diagnose the stuff that's not working for you, learn and adapt, go to training, get qualified information from qualified sources. And if you feel yourself starting to do that, if you pick up your rifle one day and you're like, this is too much shit on my rifle, or you pick up your gear and you have more pockets and stuff snagging on things, or your backpack's making too much noise, or you're just not feeling like it's efficient, or it's not giving you the things that you need to win, then, you know, sit down, stop, take a breather, reassess, and make adjustments. Happens to everybody. It's no big deal, all right? But it is a big deal if you allow it to control your life and continually let mission creep sink you before you even get underway. Hopefully this video helps and everybody enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Take care out there.
One more thing. Do me a favor. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Was that accidental, or were you trying to quote TLC on purpose?
I don't even understand the reference.
You don't understand what you said?
I don't know what that is. Get out. Go.
Oh.